My Happy Marriage, a beautiful love story with a lot of pain along the way. And when I mean pain, I do mean pain, especially the first two episodes of the first seasons. Those first two episodes were especially brutal. I mean, both physically and emotionally. Uh, Transforming our main character, Mayu Saimori, the female main character, transforming her from a proper lady to practically a live-in maid, and it was like I said, it was just hard to watch. One episode was hard enough already, but two episodes back to back, it was very difficult to watch. Now, you have your typical father who is not the father is not the abusive one. He's more like the I don't care, whatever happened to you happens to you. And even in flashbacks, he was a pretty much a piece of shit. The way he would treat her biological mother slash wife, he was just he was never a good dude. But then the mother slash wife died, and now you have your typical evil stepmother and evil stepsister who were pretty much abusive, making her work around the clock, treating her like a maid, not giving her proper medical attention whenever she was sick, ignoring her in some cases, and even trying to snuff any piece of happiness that she has left by cutting down her mother's sakura tree. It was her mother's. I don't remember if it was planted when they got married or if it was already there and that was just her favorite spot. But I know that her mother had very strong sentiment. It was her favorite tree or favorite spot in the house, and the evil stepmother found out, and as soon as she did, quickly cut that tree off. And it wasn't even because something about what her biological mother did or said or anything. No, she just wanted to give pain for this poor little girl. It was just cruel. But in some ways, there was some, in all that darkness, there was a light, and that was her fiance. It was he was a decent enough guy. He would treat her right with respect and love, and he would mostly even giving her candy. And remember, sweets in the olden days were especially expensive because it's not like manufacturing right now. No, it was mostly done by hand. So back then it was expensive. So even giving her sweets and kindness and love, but even that was taken away from her. The Like I said, any form of happiness snuff out. The stepsister noticed, and as soon as she did, she was already concocting her plan to switch her fiance towards the evil stepsister. It wasn't about love nor nothing. She just wanted to destroy even that little bit of happiness that she had left. So now that our main character, Mayu, doesn't have a fiance, they decided to give her a new fiance, which is our main lead character, Kyoka Kudo. And the reason why they chose him to be her new fiance, even though they never met him or anything, is because they believed the rumors that he was cold and abusive. There was nasty rumors about him. So they thought, hey, let's give her to him and make her miserable for the rest of her life. Now, those were rumors were unfounded. That saying that where there's smokes, there's fire is ridiculous. Sometimes rumors is just rumor, spread by enemies, people that don't like you, bullies. Sometimes that smokes, their fire is just a lot of nonsense. So Mayu now pretty much kicked out of her own home, and now has to go to live in his house of her new fiance. She enters his house, met him for his first time, and immediately she's just in her mind thinking, oh my goodness, this person is very attractive. The whole thing with the eyelashes, the long hair, the shape of his face, the his slim build. Yes, she just was in her mind, just was acknowledging just how much attractive he is. Now, many people would assume that this was love at first sight, about because of the words that she's choosing to express it, or maybe the sound. But no, this was not love at first sight. You can acknowledge that somebody is attractive and obviously not being in love with that person or feeling romantic attraction. Now, something that many people forget is that in the olden days, marriage came first and love maybe would come later. And that maybe is very big because in back then, a marriage was mostly like a contractual obligation between two families. It could be either political, financial, mostly because they wanted an heir. It just was a process, and maybe love will come later. So that's just saying my getting it out there so people don't misunderstand that this was not love at first sight. Now, obviously, even though that those rumor was unfounded, he did still have his guard up because of past experience in both political and private world. So yes, she still does her thing. She still perseveres. She still wants to be a good wife and do the cooking and cleaning, and slow and still he still have his guard up most of the time, but slowly she knock it down, and he start opening up, and they start sharing themselves emotionally or being more honest with one another, and it is very endearing. Now, since his guard walls are down, he decides to take her out on a date. They go to the town, they go eating, he even buying a expensive kimono for her, and it's very sweet and very sweet and cute moments. Now, later, like I would say in episode 4, I was very much caught off guard because until then, I my impression was that because I didn't watch the trailer, didn't read the didn't read the synopsis. I thought that this was a romantic period piece grounded in reality, and I was just by the ending of episode 4, all out of sudden he starts shooting fire and lightning out of his hands because he works in the military. The male love interest works in the military, and there were spies among him, and to attack and scare them off, he starts shooting fire from his hand, and yes, it very much caught me off guard. And there were zero indication before then that there was any power system in this world. So I was surprised. Now, the out of the sudden power system make the story worse or anything? No, in some way it complemented the story. Suddenly there are people, not all powers are elemental based. There's also the telekinesis, there's illusions, the mirages. It's very integrate which people has which powers. Now, one thing that I with the powers now that I'm talking about powers, in later episode, I would say like by episode 6, the main character Mayu Saimori is revealed that she comes the Saimori family, her surname, are were in the past they were a very powerful family of power users that they were like the not like the police, more like the enforcers, because that family, their powers were on a greater level compared to ordinary people, or even the children, or people out of other noble or prestigious families. Their powers were on another level, so they were tasked with keeping other families' power system in check, so that they won't be using it in an abusive or criminal way. But the king didn't like that and pretty much sabotaged the family, and now they're in ruin, a shadow of their former self. So in when they were explaining all of that, it's revealed that Mayu Saimori have powers, a very rare power called the Dream Sight ability. Now, the Dream Sight ability in season 1, they were saying that that power, it was like you enter people's psyche or their minds, and you could do pretty much control their mind practically. And she and that was fine and dandy, but me thinking that I already understood the way that power works, in season 2, all of a sudden, that same power suddenly give her the property to be able to see into the future. And I was like, I don't remember in season 1 they explaining that this power could see the future. That the seeing the future part just came out of nowhere. I it, it came out of nowhere. So it just felt like the writer of the novel just wanted to find a way to continue to move the story forward. So all out of sudden she just tack on the be able to see the future part. And I wish that they would have, maybe if that it was that way in the novel, the being able to see the future part, they would have put it in the first season. So when it came about in the second season, it felt like it just came out of nowhere. So yes, it was lazy writing, no, but I didn't like that they didn't explain that part in the first season. It just felt like it came out of nowhere. Now, let me see. Okay, I think that I'm going to leave it there. I will say that even though that this technically is a primary romance anime, I won't say that the romance is the focal point of this anime. Like the way I would say for example, it's like romance comedies. Sometimes the comedy is in the forefront, and the romance is in the background. And sometimes slice of life romance and such. Sometimes all the let's say also action romance, sometimes all the action is in the foreground, and in the list of things romance is in the bottom. So in some ways I would say that romance is like in between. First is like the typical slice of life drama, then romance, then the action. So maybe I'm gonna say that romance is not the main focal point of this anime. Yeah, yes, there's a lot of cute and endearing moments throughout, but it's very few in part and between. Other romance anime, pretty much every single episode gives you that butterfly feeling that they're cute, kiss already, get together. And this one is mostly every every 2 episodes, maybe there's a little romantic love scene. But they do express their, especially in season two, they really do pick it up a notch, and they start most expressing more the way they feel about each other. So it's still a serviceable romance if that's what you want. But if not, maybe yeah, I recommend it. It's an okay romance, but it's a good anime. Okay romance, but good anime. That's what I'm gonna say. And the ending of the second season, before I finish, I'm gonna say the ending of the second season, I felt that it was a very much a conclusive ending. I very doubt that there's ever going to be a third season. It felt very much very concluded the story. Now the story was just let a little bit a crack open, a little inch opening the door. So if they ever decide to do a third season, they can without any problem, without feeling anything is out of place, or skipping anything. But I very doubt it. The second season felt very conclusive, and it ended with even out having the typical romance ending of them in their wedding, because no, it's a trope that most romance anime, as soon as they get married and the story ends, which is frustrating. So no, they weren't in by the end of the second season. They weren't married yet. They were still fiancés. Yes, they love each other, but not married yet. So maybe they do a third season or decide to adapt the story when there's enough material, because I haven't read the novel, so I don't know how far it is. So yes, I'm going to leave it there. Now, there's 2 seasons, like I have mentioned, but there's also an OVA in the middle. Now, you do not. I did watch it, and I did enjoy the episode, and it's just one episode, like 2 minutes episodes, just one, and you don't have to watch it to understand the second season. So there even a new character introduced in that episode, but in second season that character never appears again. So maybe that's right, the reason, because they decided to do that little segment as OVA style, because you can do without it, but they decided to give the fans of the material a little something extra, even if they could have gotten away without having to adapt that little bit. So I'm gonna end it there. Now, if I'm going to score this as a romance, I would have given a 6, and a slightly above average romance anime. But that's my score as a romance. Now, as an overall anime, I would give it a 7. Even though that this wasn't a primarily action-based anime, the few scenes it was on the few scenes that there was action or where they were using the powers, it was very well animated compared to other honestly, compared to other animes where it's mostly action based, where they do cut corners, so it would like though so it would seem like it was properly animated when where it wasn't, trying to trick your brain. This one, maybe because those action scenes were few in part in between, so when there was an episode where their action and powers, like throwing lightning, earth, or wind was needed, was decently animated. And even though the romance wasn't the forefront, there was romance, and it was cute whenever there was romance. And let me see. And the story was pretty much solid. The sudden introduction of the power system didn't disrupt the story or anything. So I'm going to give it a 7. See, if I were going to review this as a romance only, I would give it a 6. But as an overall anime uh, with music, animation, story, I would give it a solid 7. And I'm not going to say that this is my top recommendation, but if you want to give it a go, nothing else to watch, this is a good anime. Is it going to be your favorite, like me or something? No, but you're not going to regret having watched it. So I'm gonna leave it there now. Have a good day, have a good night, wherever you're from, and see you next video.